Okay, Jim Feist, Andy Iskoe here in Las Vegas. We're going to talk about some NFL. We're going to talk about teasers. We're going to talk about contests. What else are we going to talk about, Andy?
I
Alternate
think we
lines?
may, alternate lines for this coming week. As far as we sort of touched upon it the last couple of weeks actually, but really to just sort of, I guess, put it down. Games on which you may have an extreme amount of confidence in, or a significant amount of trepidation, meaning that you like to play a certain number, but you don't feel they can cover it. But if you drop it a few points or raise it a few points and lay additional vig, you feel more comfortable. And obviously the other way, if you have confidence, instead of laying, say, 3.5, maybe you lay 6.5. Instead of laying 110, you get plus 170 or something like that.
Well, my confidence level is not that high. I did not have a very good NFL season. I did well in baseball. I did well in college football, and I did well in the WNBA. But
I was going to say you cleaned up in the WNBA.
And the NFL has just been awful for me. And that is real unusual because it's one of my biggest money makers. But it's only 2 weeks, and we can bounce back. We got a lot of.
Well, that's part of it. Just interrupt for a moment. Is that the weeks 1 and week 2 were totally different. Certainly, an example from the totals perspective. You had 4 overs and 12 unders in week 1. And a lot of the games in week 2 handicapped as low scoring, yet it turned out that there were 10 overs and 6 unders. So you went from one extreme to the other. Now, the natural argument is, well, when you have a week like a 12 and 4, there's usually regression the other way. And that is, but usually that regression does not all occur mostly in 1 week. It usually spreads out over time. So if you're going 12 and 4 to the over, so you're plus 8 overs just through 1 week of the season, you're going to get back to 50-50. So you figure it'll take maybe 3 or 4 weeks. So you wouldn't expect it to go 6 and 10 or 10 and 6 the next week. You might expect it, 9 and 7, maybe an 8 and 6.
If you look at some of these young quarterbacks, I mean, how can you figure the Tennessee game is going to go over? How do you figure that the New Orleans Saints game is going to go over? You basically have 2 offenses that are not supposed to produce a lot of points, and but they go over, and then a lot. And then of course you talked about the Raiders and the Chargers.
By the way, before I forget, no, go ahead. I want to say something about the Dallas Giants game.
Well,
how the Giants blew it, not the way you thought they should.
I can't believe how bad the Dallas defense was. I mean, you know that Russell Wilson has one monster weapon in his bag, and it's always been there. It's the moonshot. You know he's going to throw the moonshot, and yet you let the wide receivers run past you before you start to go after them, instead of playing safety position and keep them in front of you. That was the worst defensive effort I've ever seen by anybody. And Dallas just
you want to know how the Giants blew the win in that game, and I haven't heard anybody talk about it. There were 9 seconds to go in regulation. The Giants were up 37-34, and the Cowboys were looking to set up Aubrey for the ultimate 64-yard field goal that he nailed. Okay, there's 9 seconds, and they still had a couple of timeouts. If you recall what they did before they attempted the field goal, they handed the ball off to the runner. The Giants should have let him run around for an extra 5 or 6 seconds on his way to the end zone, so that time would have run out before they could have called a timeout to set up the field goal.
How about Steichen for the Colts? I mean, you're right about that, but how about Steichen for the Colts? He runs into the line to set up a 60-yard field goal for a kicker that's never kicked the ball 60 yards. I mean, come on. And then they get bailed out by the leverage play.
Yeah.
And they win the game. But that is monstrous.
Well, that was the same comment that I think it was Greg Olson, I think, who had the comment about, why did they just go for a few yards? Why didn't they want to try and get a little bit more yardage than the 3 or 4 yards from the run to make it a little easier field goal for Aubrey? Even though he's great, you'd still much rather have him try a 57-yard field goal than a 64-yard field goal. And that was questioned, but that's when it came in that the Giants should have been prepared for a play that allows them to not yet tackle, but let the clock run out and then do the tackle.
Some of these games are being coached like they're high school games.
I have said for years and years, and about everybody in Las Vegas or whoever bets these games agree with me, every NFL and college team for that matter, but certainly NFL, should have an assistant coach in charge of clock management, timeouts, etc.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. Now we're talking about just kind of different subjects. So we're talking about Tampa Bay
Yeah.
is 2-0. They're playing without their offensive line being intact, and now they probably lose the right tackle. They've lost the left tackle already with Wurs, and they got wide receivers out. Baker Mayfield's playing like a champion.
Yeah.
The most valuable player, definitely in the mix. And they're 2-0. Now they go home.
For a fifth straight year, by the way.
Pardon me?
The Bucks are 2-0 for a fifth straight season, and they won the division each of the last 4 seasons.
I did not know that. 2-0.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, they should win this division again. I mean, Atlanta is their biggest competitor, and Atlanta's not bad. Yeah,
now, Tampa Bay does have that win at Tampa Bay. A road divisional win can be the difference.
You mean at Atlanta?
At Atlanta in week 1.
Yeah, and they're going to get better too because they're going to get those players back. Now they're going to play it. They're going to play a game this week where they're going to be a pretty good sized favorite after coming home off 2 road wins against a team that's reeling, but they have a different quarterback that might be actually more dangerous than their starting quarterback in the Jets. Tyrod Taylor.
Tyrod Taylor. Yeah. The thing with Tyrod is he's only been there. I think he got there last year, and he saw very, very limited action. In fact, you can make a comparison between Tyrod Taylor starting for the Jets against Tampa Bay and Marcus Mariota most likely starting for Washington in their game this week as well, going up against who are they playing this week? Let me get the schedule out here. They are playing the Raiders. The Raiders at home.
No, Marcus but then you got
Mariota,
Wentz playing against Cincinnati, and they're playing their Browning. So you got 2 backups there, and they got Mac playing for San Francisco most likely, and that's another. I mean, the quarterback's getting injured. It's not making this job any easier, you know.
It's so early in the season to have these kind of. But I mean, what can you do? You can't do anything unless you turn the game into flag football.
Right. Well, I'm leading into what we do. We talk about teasers, and even though we got to shop for good prices because the books are making it very hard by charging this 125, 135 on the juice, which is not good at all. It used to be like even money, teaser, and then it was 110. This one now. I mean, they're just outpricing the market, but with all these games like this. Your backup quarterback should not be looked at to create a lot of points. That's one. Number 2, the point spreads are probably going to be a little bit more live, especially if you tease them. What do you think about that?
Well, I was going to say one thing. If the sports books were smart, they would lower the vig but take it away. We talked about a little bit. Instead of a 6-point teaser, they offer a 5-point teaser. Most amateur, non-professional, non-big time, all-time, full-time bettors, most people would say, 1 point, what's the big difference? I'd rather play a 5-point teaser to even money than laying minus 120 for a 6-point teaser. But that 1 point could make a big deal of difference. Now, as far as the teasers go, in general, the other thing I think that happens with these backup quarterbacks is you would think from a strategic standpoint, you might have lower scoring gains because you wouldn't ask your backup quarterback to do that much. And so if you have a decent running game, you might prefer to make the game as short as possible with more running plays than passing plays, decreasing the probability or possibility of turnovers.
Now, have we seen any adjustment in the totals because of that scenario you just
I have not seen any, looking at the opening lines, there's not been much movement over the last 48 to 72 hours as more of the quarterback situation became clear. I think Burrow was probably the first quarterback. That was probably known Sunday night. I think it was pretty clear. But I think most of the other ones, like Justin Fields, came out, I think, on Wednesday, where we're doing this right now, which Wednesday afternoon. I think the thing with Jaden Daniels, I think came out late last Tuesday night. I think that had to do with an injury in practice. I think the Wentz one McCarthy probably wasn't known until Monday or possibly yesterday, Tuesday. So I think when these opening lines came out, there may have been some uncertainty about some of the quarterbacks. I don't know that the Fields one was much, because I didn't hear that much about a concussion after the game for him. But I don't listen to every station or watch every recap show, so there might have been somewhere it was on. But I have not seen much of an adjustment. The only adjustment that I saw was the Commanders, and this was in the side. That line I saw in some place and opened as high as Commanders 6 over the Raiders. And then when the news broke yesterday, I believe it was Tuesday, about the uncertain status of Daniels. And keep in mind, they had Washington had 4 extra days off because they played on Thursday, and the Raiders played on Monday. Okay, not only that, and so basically Raiders are going from Monday to Sunday. Washington has extra preparation time, and then when you do the West Coast to East Coast or East Coast to West Coast trip like the Raiders are doing, which by the way is their second straight East West West East, because they opened in New England and came back to play the Chargers and now go back east, you also lose that extra preparation time that you would normally have if you weren't traveling. So that line went from 6 to 3 to 3.5, now down to 3, as I think it becomes more likely Daniels won't be starting. Big
rest advantage for sure for Washington, although the Raiders looked pretty damn bad on Monday. Against I mean, that was a pretty bad effort. I don't know what to say about that. I'll
tell you what, that offensive line had 2 big issues. They can't protect Geno Smith, and they can't open holes for Gentry.
And none of the wide receivers could get loose for any openings. Yeah. I mean,
Chargers. That's what this game between Denver and San Diego every once in a while. The Chargers is interesting from one perspective. Everyone looks at Denver as having an outstanding defense, which they do. That Chargers defense is right up there with them. They led the league in fewest points allowed last year. The Chargers.
They knocked down 15 passes against the Raiders. 15. That's amazing. 15 passes they deflected.
Part of that is coaching.
Well, Jim Harbaugh is pretty amazing coach. I mean, some of these other guys are pretty good coaches too, but he has had a great track record. He's a very dangerous coach.
He's very well prepared.
He obviously knows what the hell he's doing.
Yes.
Anything else in the teaser market, or you want to go right into the alternate lines?
Well, we can talk about some of the teasers. I mean, some of the teams that look obvious ones to tease. I don't know that I would tease. I certainly wouldn't tease Miami up in Thursday night's game from 12.5, let's say, to 18.5, or 11.5 to 17.5. But I'm not sure I would tease the Bills down. You think they should be able to win by 7 or more if you tease down from the 11.5 to the 5.5, 6.5. But I would not include that one. I would normally look, if I'm looking at favorites, you look at the obvious ones. You look at the Packers being teased down below. Well, I'm showing a line of about 8 right now, so you can tease them down to -2 at Cleveland. Although I would not be shocked if this is A, low-scoring game, and B, if the Browns don't cover this game, because they have really – take a look at their defensive numbers. They've been really, really good, but so have Green Bay's. Differences in the offense where Green Bay has an edge, but Cleveland is well coached.
Green Bay played 2 games at home. They beat up on Detroit, and they beat up on Washington. But now this is a road game. And Cleveland has played well against the Bengals, and – not the score last week against Baltimore was not typical of the way the game was played.
It was 10-3 at halftime, 17. I think it was 20-10 after 3 quarters.
Yeah, if I was going to tease that game, I'd be looking for 8, take it to 14 or 14.5. I'd feel more comfortable with the dog.
I can see that one. I can see Tampa Bay being teased down against the Jets. They're basically where they just have to win the game, and the same thing with Seattle.
And Seattle is probably the biggest, I would say, survivor play this week.
I was thinking about that, but then again, I'm also thinking about perhaps Buffalo on Thursday night against Miami. Do you want to use the Bills right now? You normally look to take a team in Survivor. One of the strategies is against the easiest opponent that they will face at home all year that they are likely to beat. So that would be like the Bills over the Dolphins. Miami's bad. They may get better. And the rematch that the Bills would have would be in Miami later in the season. So I'm not so sure that people won't do that. Other people may be taking a look down the road and find a better spot for Buffalo. There are probably 3 or 4 spots. Normally you don't like to do it in a division game, but look at this. It's the highest point spread of the week. I did some research, just how often double-digit home favorites have lost straight up in the NFL in recent years. I think it's 7 out of 62 have lost since 2022, 22, 23, 24. I think last year it was like 15-2. I think the year before was something like 18 and 19 and 4. And the year before that, it might have been like 21-1 or something like that. So it's been about an 80-85% likelihood, as you would expect, that a double-digit home favorite would win a game straight up.
Now, how about the fact that you got to save teams because you can only use them once, and they'll be like the extra weeks worth of Thanksgiving.
2 weeks. Yeah, I don't have it in front of me right now, but I'm going to take a look at those weeks.
Save like a Buffalo for that.
Let me go back and see here, because I think Thanksgiving week, I believe, is week 13. And the 8 teams playing there, Green Bay is at Detroit. Keep in mind that will be a revenge game for Detroit that lost badly on opening day at Green Bay. So that might be a spot. I don't know if you would want to use Detroit against such a good team as Green Bay, where Green Bay might be able to be playing a wrap up the division, but keep that in mind. Kansas City at Dallas. I should be out of the survivor pool. I played Dallas last week, and they should not have won that game.
You're right.
But they did. So I basically got away with it because I took a team that normally I wouldn't think of playing, and they played. Kansas City, we don't know what they're going to be like in November. That's a team that plays Thanksgiving. Cincinnati at Baltimore. This is where I may be looking to hold on to Baltimore, where they host Cincinnati in the first of 2 meetings. They do not meet until this game. And then you got the Bears at Philadelphia on Friday, and people might be looking for that as one of the Thursday games. And then you go to week 17, which is Christmas. There are only 6 games there. And no, Buffalo is not involved in any of those Thanksgiving or Christmas games. You got Dallas playing again at Washington. Detroit, who I said you might want to use on Thanksgiving. Well, you maybe want to use them on Christmas Day. They're at Minnesota. And then Kansas City is another team. They are at Dallas on Thanksgiving, but they also play on Christmas when they host Denver. And that figures to be a big game in the AFC West because that's the second to last week of the season. And Denver might be, we don't know how Kansas City is going to do, but you have to figure Denver's going to be playing well and the Chargers are going to be playing well. So that could be a big game for Denver. Theoretically, we could see Denver in a position to clinch the division and Kansas City needing to win to have a shot at a wild card.
If I was
Seems hard to believe, but yeah.
I would rather have to play against Dallas. I mean, Dallas has no defense. So I would not want to get involved in a division game for survivor money. That would be difficult. Because you're right.
It might be for it. If this is Christmas Day, because Dallas also plays Thanksgiving, but they play Christmas Day. You only got 2 games to go in the season. Obviously, 3 weeks in the contest because I have the second part of Christmas week. But Washington is hosting Dallas, and we don't know what the situation for both teams will be. We don't know if or how long Daniels will be out for Washington and how that might affect their performance. Maybe at that point with 2 games to go, maybe they're 9-6 instead of 11-3, which they might be with Daniels. And at the same time, we don't know if Dallas has been eliminated from the playoffs. Based upon their effort against Philadelphia, they might be standing. Based upon their effort against the Giants, they may have been eliminated on Thanksgiving Day.
So any alternative plays this week, alternate line plays this week that you have confidence in? I mean, sometimes it's hard to get an alternate line play because you don't really have that much confidence in the teams to begin with.
Well, the only one that could possibly would be the game tomorrow night where you're laying 12.5. And, this could be a blowout game playing at home, in front of the frenzied crowd. Miami taking to the road. They played at Indianapolis, didn't look good in their first road game. Buffalo could win this game 41-17. But I don't know if they offer alternate lines on lines that are double digits already. They might. The other one that I was contemplating could also be the where was it here? Who did I had circled here? It was the Falcons against the Panthers. Falcons are, I think they're about 5 or 6 point favorites, and they played well against Minnesota. They did have to settle for some field goals more than you might have liked in that game, but they showed that they were playing up to their potential. That could be a game against a Panther team where Young is still struggling. Has shown no progress. This is his third year now, and the Falcons, Penix Jr. looked very, very sharp in his first 2 games, even the one that they lost at home to Tampa. The other one that you might want to take a look at, and it's only because of the way that they played close games, although I actually like Tampa Bay to cover the points here, but maybe you take a look at the Jets at something like, instead of +6.5, maybe you play them +7.5. They're 0-2. They played well in the game against Pittsburgh. They did not play well against Buffalo. And keep in mind, Tampa Bay, yes, they won on the road their first 2 games at Atlanta. That was a 3-point win. And then they won Monday night at Houston. That was a 1-point win. So Tampa Bay is 2-0. They could easily be 0-2. And now you're asking them to win by a margin. So maybe you take a look at the Jets +3.5, and you get a nice price on them.
You're right. They're coming home, and that's always difficult when you come off the road to come home, and now you're laying a big number because they won't do it. And here's the problem: Tampa is playing without some key offensive linemen. Now, eventually, that's going to catch up to you. And I know Baker has been a war hero, and he gets out there and he gets it done. But man, you got to get those linemen back. I mean, Wurs is out now. Maybe the offensive tackle, right tackle, is out, and I mean, this is walking wounded. And of course, the Jets aren't good.
Godwin might be back, by the way. Godwin, the wide receiver, has been out. Might be cleared for this game.
But you got to get some protection for Mayfield, or they're going to kill him. So I'm not really comfortable with that scenario. When you win on the road and you come home, you lay a big number. And I see, honest to God, Andy, I'm seeing 7s on this game.
Yeah.
I see a lot of
the
7s.
other game that I was also considering, one thing I look at are for teams with new coaches, but little is expected of them. They generally show some improvement early on in the season while they're healthy. And maybe the Saints, instead of getting +8 or +9, maybe you could play them at like +4.5 or something. I liked the effort they showed last week when they were hopelessly down against the Cardinals, and they came back and actually had the ball with a chance to win the game late after being down the whole game. Well, Spencer Rattler had a very good game, and Kellen Moore, the first-year coach, is his forte is offense. Offensive coordinator with the Eagles last year, so he may have a few more things that the Saints can improve on going up against the Seattle team that, notwithstanding the 31-17 win against Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh, you don't really think of the Seahawks right now as a blowout team.
Well, the Arizona game against New Orleans was week 1. Last week they played reasonably well.
It was San Francisco. I'm sorry, San Francisco. Yeah, it was against San Francisco. They didn't quit.
Rattler is actually playing a lot better than anybody gave him credit for.
Yeah.
They've been much more competitive. I would agree with you. Seattle, even though Seattle looks pretty damn good, and they have a good coach, and Donald is playing well. They got a couple breaks against Pittsburgh, but you need breaks.
Yeah, the kickoff stuff and all that.
First road game for Rattler and the Saints. I don't expect the Saints to win, but that's a game to look at, interestingly enough, because too many people are now on Seattle. It's getting too popular. So now we want to talk about a defense that doesn't exist, the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. I don't know how anybody can see anything positive out of the Dallas Cowboys defense. I can say a lot about their offense being very good. But their defense is horrible.
The Giants weren't much better. I think the Giants had like 502 total yards, and Dallas had like 478, and that was a wild fourth quarter. And the reason I mentioned the Giants is, can the Chiefs take advantage of that Giants defense? And if so, maybe instead of laying 6 or 5.5 with the Chiefs, maybe you lay 10.5.
The problem there is the Chiefs are hurting. They still don't have a lot of offensive weapons. And the Giants do have a pretty good front seven on defense. which might limit that a lot. Now, I don't expect the Giants to put
I
up the
wonder
kind
how
of.
it'll do against Mahomes, that front seven.
Well,
With
he
his
doesn't
matchup.
handle the pressure like he used to.
He also doesn't let the pressure get to him. He's so good at making decisions. He can see the pressure coming, and then he'll call out of it, and have a little safety valve, or find a Kelsey over the middle who looks like he's going to just block, and then all of a sudden to take about 8 or 10 steps.
Right. Interesting game.
Yeah.
Big game in the division, Arizona and San Francisco. That's two teams that are both 2-0. And this is the division
Don't forget the
game.
Rams. They're also 2-0. So that's turning out to be right now early on a pretty good division.
Well, these guys are going against each other, and you got a backup quarterback for San Francisco. Yeah. Arizona has never really inspired me, but history-wise, they do very well playing against San Francisco.
Yeah, I'm looking at it from the approach of, we don't know about Purdy. Now, there was some talk today that he may be able to play in week 2. The line does not suggest it. I saw the line open around 2, and that's pretty much still where it is. In fact, let me see if I can call that up on the screen while we're talking here.
I don't believe he's playing.
I'm showing 2.5. I don't either. Well, let me see if there's something up here on the injury report that may have come in this afternoon. I'm not really sure, but if I can call it up, and the screen doesn't want to cooperate, that's okay. There it is. Okay, San Francisco. Let's see. This was. Okay, no, this was from last week. That's the last update I'm showing where he's out indefinitely. So that provides no help at all. But I would tend to think with you, because I think he had both a toe and a shoulder issue, so it's hard to believe that he would be cleared with both of those still potential lingering situations. But I think the 49ers, they don't very rarely have this situation of it's us against the world with nobody believing in them. They got out to that early lead against the Saints. The Saints made a little bit of a run, but the 49ers held on for the win. They opened the season in the competitive game, scoring late against Seattle to win that one 17-13. I think that and Mac Jones is serviceable. Remember, the 49ers wanted to get him a few years ago. New England, I think, took him instead or did something with that. And then they had the thing with Garoppolo and the 49ers. So there's a history there of those teams helping each other. And I think Mac Jones showed he was comfortable last week against the Saints. So if this line were to go up to 3 or 3.5, I might think differently. But right now, laying under a field goal with the 49ers at home looks attractive.
I won't be playing it. I'd rather take the dog at a bigger price. But
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I might consider 3.5.
That's not the way it's looking. So I'm going to just stay away from it. I do expect Dallas to put up a lot of points against Chicago, and I can't imagine Chicago won't be able to take advantage of the Dallas terrible defense. It's absolutely
Bears' defensive numbers are also pretty bad. This one looks like an over.
Well, it went to 40 from 48 to 51, and so I'm not telling you a lot right there.
Well, that may still be too low because the Bears could score 27 on that Dallas defense.
I would look at Cincinnati as an overplay as well. They got Browning, but Minnesota has a pretty good defense, and I don't know that you're going to get any points out of Wentz. I have no idea what Carson Wentz is capable of.
But I sort of alluded to this kind of situation before, where you've got two backup quarterbacks facing one another, and I think that the game plan gets conservative. Because I think that both of these quarterbacks are basically going to be put in situations, you don't have to win the game for us, okay? Just don't lose it for us. And that normally means don't take too many chances. So I could see,
the problem we have on the field here is the best unit on the field is the Minnesota defense.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Going up against the Cincinnati offense with a backup quarterback who's been there and worked with these guys before.
And Wentz is going to go up against Cincinnati, which is one of the worst defenses in the league.
Yeah, no, it's a game that I cannot. I really feel hard making a case either way for that game.
Some of these are very difficult when you're starting to talk about back. And we're only week 3, and we're talking about all these backup quarterbacks, for God's sake. it makes it very difficult. Andy, give us a little update on the contest before we sign off.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Let's next week I'll start putting in the Westgate Super Contests. And if I have time, I can do the college one. The one with the college one is you got 50 games a week, so you don't have a lot of huge consensus with that many games being played. But if I'll see what I can come up with. Let's talk first about the Circa Millions. That's the pick 5. That's the one that's based upon the long-standing Westgate Super Contest. You make 5 picks a week against a static point spread, and the Circa Million has adopted that. They had 5,685 entries at $1,000 each. So that would normally be a prize pool of $5,685,000. The only thing is that Derek Stevens and the Circa folks guaranteed a $6 million pot. So there's a little bit of an overlay in that one by about $315,000 for the 5,615. But the consensus is not off to a very good week. I usually over the years have been reporting on the consensus, which basically looks to mirror the pick 5 aspect from if you're someone who doesn't really do your own handicapping, but you want to get an idea of what the contestants who are shelling out all this money to participate want, what are the 5 most popular picks. So I tracked that over the weeks, over the years. Not a very good start. In week 1, the Circa top 5 selections were 0-5 against the spread. Not a good start. And yet there were still many people, I forget the exact number, who were actually individuals in the contest who went 5-0. This past week, it improved to 2-5, 2-3, excuse me. So it's now 2-8 for the season. The top selection last week was a loser, the Denver Broncos, in a pick'em game that went down to the wire, so it could have just as easily been a win rather than a loss, especially with those field goals situation at the end. The second most popular team last week were the Dallas Cowboys, -5.5. They won by 3, and that wild game. I said last week, well, it's going to be hard to top that Sunday night Buffalo-Baltimore game. This game, I think, did, just because of everything that went around it.
That was one of the craziest games I've ever seen.
The number 3 selection, the Detroit Lions, had no difficulty in laying the 5.5 and beating Chicago by 31, I think it was 52-21.
You got to put up a 50 burger.
Yeah, against their former offensive coordinator. Now the head coach of the Bears. The Jets were a surprisingly strong pick. They were the 4th most popular, getting 6.5, and they were never really very competitive in that game. They lost, and then the number 5 selection was the other winner. And again, one of the more quality games of the week didn't quite live up to the hype because it wasn't exactly a very scintillating game, and that was the Eagles laying 1 at the Chiefs in their 20-17 win. So that made the consensus for the Circa Millions 2-8 on the season. But now we turn to the Big Daddy contest, the Circa Survivor, $1,000 entry fee, and 18,718 entries in the contest. So the prize pool, if it is a single lone survivor at the end of the season or during the season, if it ends earlier, 18,718,000 will be either given to one person or split amongst those who are able to remain. Most likely you have to go 20 weeks, but it could end up a few weeks earlier with a few people left. And in week 1, which was a very formful week, only 573 contestants were eliminated from the 18-7-18. So that left 18,145 remaining, which was, I think, about 97.8% or something like that. The Grandissimo had 69 entries. Nobody was eliminated in week 1, but there was one contestant who put up the $100,000 who was eliminated in week 2. So that's down to 68 contestants. In the big contest, with 18,145 contestants, obviously there is a winner and a loser in every game. And they only had, I think it was 29 teams were chosen. I think the Jets, the Bears, and I think there was one other team, I think the Panthers, were not chosen by anybody. So the teams that were eliminated, one entry was eliminated. Bless you. One entry was eliminated by the Packers when they won on the Commanders on that Thursday night game. You had 147 eliminated by the Patriots when the Dolphins lost to New England. 2 people were eliminated by the Bengals when they came from behind at the very end to win and cover 3.5. Well, of course, just a straight up, but still, they got the cover for those people. So 2 people who were on the Jags, they are out. The Ravens, 4,420 selected the Ravens. 1 person was contrarian and took the Browns. That 1 person is either going to have to turn to another one of their entries or wait till next year. But it was a gamble, and had they won, that would have been something that would have thrilled most of the rest of the field. Giants had 2 entries eliminated when the Cowboys came back to win. The Titans had 4 eliminated in their loss at home to the Rams. One of the big eliminations of the week, I think this may have been the biggest actually, the Pittsburgh Steelers at home losing to Seattle. 491 were eliminated. 11 were eliminated by the 49ers when the Saints took a home loss. There were 40 people eliminated in that pick'em game when Indianapolis came from behind to eliminate those people who had played the Broncos last week. Kansas City, this was I guess somewhat of a surprise in some instances, and maybe not overall. Only 7 people took a side between the Chiefs and the Eagles in that Super Bowl rematch. I think that may have been one of the lowest combined number of selections on a single game. 5 were on the Eagles, they advanced. 2 were on the Chiefs, they are out. 8 people were eliminated. 355 people were eliminated by Atlanta when the Vikings lost Sunday night, so that was another big elimination. On Monday night, you had 104 people eliminated when the Texans fell at home to Tampa Bay. And on Monday night, you had 1 person eliminated who was on the Raiders, while 282 who backed the Chargers advanced. And after having 24 no picks in week 1, that also got a little bit lighter, but there were still 19 people who did not submit a selection. So overall, in week 2, you had 1,180 contestants eliminated. That's 16,965 remaining. And one thing people like to look at in case they're thinking of possibly selling their entry that's still alive, after 2 weeks, your $1,000 entry with the imputed value, you take the $18,718,000 prize pool. You divide that by the number of remaining entries, 16,965. That works out to an entry value of $1,103.
I don't think anybody be selling right now.
Nah, it's a little too early.
Andy, that's good stuff. Thank you for that. We'll be back next week with more of the same, updating everything in the NFL and the contest. Thank you, Andy. Have a good weekend.
You as well. To our listeners and viewers also, best of luck in all your sporting endeavors.
Thank you. You too.